The Goblin Beneath Independence Gate, The Dark Legend of Dongnimmun. Seoul is a city where the ancient and modern worlds exist side by side. Towering buildings, crowded streets, and bright neon signs surround places that have witnessed centuries of war, political upheaval, suffering, and death. One of those places is Dongnimmun, also known as Independence Gate, in Seodaemun. Today, it is a famous historical monument and a symbol of Korean independence. But after sunset, the atmosphere around the old stone gate can feel very different. For generations, strange stories have surrounded this area, including tales of supernatural creatures known as Dokkaebi. Long before Seoul became the enormous modern city it is today, the area around Dongnimmun was much quieter and darker. Roads were poorly lit, travelers often walked long distances at night, and forests and open land surrounded parts of the city. People believed that supernatural beings could appear in such places. Among the creatures of Korean folklore were the Dokkaebi, mysterious goblin-like beings known for playing tricks on humans. Some stories described them as mischievous, while others portrayed them as terrifying creatures capable of frightening or attacking travelers. One particularly strange legend connected to the area tells of Dokkaebi who enjoyed cutting men's traditional topknots. In the past, Korean men commonly wore their hair tied into a topknot known as a songtu. According to the folklore, a man walking through the area at night could suddenly encounter a supernatural creature that would sneak up behind him and cut off his topknot. The victim might feel something touch the back of his head, turn around, and discover that there was absolutely nobody there. Imagine walking beneath Dongnimmun late at night. The enormous stone arch rises above you, while the road ahead disappears into darkness. There are no crowds and no bright tourist lights. You hear only the distant sounds of Seoul. Suddenly, you hear footsteps behind you. You stop, and the footsteps stop too. You begin walking again, and the footsteps follow. You turn around, but there is nobody there. Then you feel a sudden tug at the back of your head. Your hand immediately reaches upward. Something is missing. Stories like this may sound strange today, but they reveal how frightening the area could have seemed to people in earlier generations. Darkness made ordinary shadows appear supernatural, while unfamiliar sounds could easily become evidence of spirits or goblins. One of the most interesting legends from the area even describes a terrifying creature that appeared to be a giant, one-eyed monster. According to an old story, a man traveling near the gate at night suddenly encountered a huge creature standing in the darkness. The creature appeared enormous and had a single eye in the middle of its forehead. Believing that he had encountered a Dokkaebi, the frightened traveler decided that running away would not save him. Instead, he grabbed a strong stick and attacked the creature with all his strength. The mysterious monster collapsed, and then something completely unexpected happened. A human voice cried out for help. The traveler realized that the terrifying creature was actually an ordinary man carrying a heavy load of firewood. In the darkness, fear and imagination had transformed a normal human being into a supernatural monster. The story may have ended with an explanation, but it demonstrates how powerful the legends surrounding the area had become. However, the supernatural stories are only one part of Dongnimmun's dark atmosphere. The real history surrounding the gate is far more disturbing. Dongnimmun stands near Seodaemun Independence Park and the former Seodaemun Prison, a place strongly associated with Korean independence activists who were imprisoned during the Japanese colonial period. Many prisoners experienced brutal treatment, torture, and terrible suffering there, and some lost their lives. Because of this history, the area carries memories of enormous human suffering. Imagine what the surroundings might have sounded like more than a century ago. Instead of modern traffic and bright city lights, there would have been prison walls, guards, locked cells, footsteps, and the cries of prisoners. Beyond those walls stood the symbol of Korean independence. The contrast between the gate and the prison created a landscape filled with both hope and tragedy. Korean folklore has long contained stories about restless spirits. In traditional beliefs, people who died violently or experienced extreme suffering could sometimes become unable to move on. There is no scientific evidence that ghosts haunt Dongnimmun or Seodaemun Independence Park, but it is easy to understand why supernatural stories could develop around a location surrounded by so much historical trauma. At night, the atmosphere can become particularly unsettling. Imagine a visitor leaving the park after dark. Seoul is still alive around them, but the historic structures create a strange contrast with the modern city. The visitor walks past Dongnimmun and hears footsteps somewhere behind them. They stop. Silence. They continue walking. Again, the footsteps follow. The visitor turns around and sees nothing. Perhaps it is only another pedestrian disappearing around a corner. Perhaps it is the wind. Perhaps the sound came from the road. They continue walking, trying to forget about it. Then the footsteps return, closer than before. This time, there is another sound, a faint scraping noise, almost like metal moving against stone. The visitor slowly turns around again. Beneath the enormous stone arch stands a dark figure. It is impossible to see the face clearly. The figure does not move. It simply watches. In one hand appears to be something long and metallic. The visitor takes a step backward, and the figure suddenly disappears. When they look down at their phone, they discover that their camera has somehow taken a photograph. The picture shows Dongnimmun exactly as it appeared moments earlier. But beneath the arch is a shadow that the visitor never noticed in real life. They zoom into the image. The shadow appears to have a face. And above the face is a single pale eye. Perhaps this is only a modern horror story inspired by an ancient legend. Perhaps the photograph was simply a strange combination of shadows and camera distortion. There is no evidence that a supernatural creature actually appeared beneath Dongnimmun. But that is precisely what makes legends like this so fascinating. They survive because they transform real places into stories that people continue telling long after the original events have disappeared. The Dokkaebi of Dongnimmun may never have existed outside folklore. Yet the fear behind the legend was real. People once walked through these roads surrounded by darkness and uncertainty. They did not have modern lighting, cameras, or instant communication. A strange sound in the night could become a terrifying encounter, and an ordinary stranger could become a monster in someone's imagination. But Dongnimmun carries something that imagination alone cannot create: history. The gate witnessed Korea's turbulent transformation and stands close to a former prison where people suffered because they fought for independence. The stones have remained while generations of people have disappeared. Seoul changed around them, but the monument remained. Maybe that is why the old stories continue to feel strangely appropriate. The Dokkaebi represents the unknown darkness of the old road, while the restless spirits represent the memories of those who suffered nearby. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, the location carries a powerful sense of the past. So if you ever visit Dongnimmun, take a moment to look at the enormous stone arch. During the day, it may simply look like a historic monument surrounded by tourists, trees, and the busy streets of Seoul. But imagine the same place centuries ago, when darkness covered the roads and travelers feared what might be waiting beyond the next corner. And if you ever find yourself there after midnight and hear footsteps behind you, remember the old legend. Don't immediately turn around. Because according to the darkest version of the story, the Dokkaebi may not want to hurt you. It may simply want to play a game. And if you feel something suddenly touch the back of your head, don't panic. Just reach up slowly. Because if the old legend is true, you may discover that something has been taken. And beneath the silent stone arch of Independence Gate, there may be nothing left but darkness, an empty road, and the faint sound of laughter disappearing into the night.